Let's talk about anger. I believe that anger can be a real opportunity for change. It's a real opportunity to do something different. But as we know, anger often causes a lot of destruction. So let's look at what is actually happening to us when we get angry. Often what happens is there's a trigger. Somebody does something. Somebody waves a red flag at us and we get triggered. And when we're triggered, a feeling arises, and that feeling can often be sadness. It can be hurt, but nobody likes to feel sad or hurt, and we want to move away from that uncomfortable feeling of sadness and hurt. And the way we move away from that uncomfortable feeling of sadness and hurt is we go into toxic thinking, and we start thinking lots of negative thoughts. And before we know it, we're actually acting out the anger. And all this happens in seconds. Often we're not aware that we're actually feeling this anger in our body. Some people feel it in their arms. Some people feel it in their chest. Some people feel it in their neck. And actually what happens is that people just aren't aware of it. They know that they feel uncomfortable, that they're feeling horrible and they don't want to feel like this, but they're not actually feeling. They're not actually realising and connecting with the feelings in the body, and they've moved into angry actions of lashing out with words or lashing out violently. Let's use an example. Some of you may drive. Now I know that sometimes we can be driving along the highway and somebody cuts us up. Somebody does something which puts our life at risk. And we actually go into a rage. How dare they? The stupid idiots, how dare they? And we start huffing and puffing and swearing. And we're not aware that actually what's actually happened is that our life has been put so much at risk that we feel so much fear, but we want to move away from the fear. We want to move away from those sad feelings because fear can often make us feel vulnerable. And the way we think we can move away from those vulnerable feelings is moving into a rage. It happens so quickly. And then, of course, what happens is we're so enraged that we actually cut somebody else up. We put somebody else's life at risk. Or we put our own life at risk behind that wheel because we're so angry. We've lost awareness and we become impaired behind the wheel. But actually, what we could do and how we could be creative in that moment is after somebody has put our life at risk, we can actually recognise that and actually think, you know, when the next possible place we could just stop the car and just sit for a few seconds to connect to the breath, that's what we could do, is actually stop. It may be 5 minutes later, it may be a minute later, but actually we take the time to stop, sit in the car, take a breath, and just connect to those host of mucky, uncomfortable feelings that we're feeling, and just let them arise and cease. Because often, when we've moved into that rage, we're just not aware that underneath all of that rage, which is the tip of the iceberg, because actually what's bigger are those sad feelings, are the needs, that we have needs, and also the fear. So that's one thing that we can do with anger, is actually take a breath, slow down, and connect to the body.